Hello, Annemarie. This is Eric with Colorado Wildfire Mitigation. Just going to go ahead and run you through our property assessment. So what I've done is I've taken a bunch of photos of the property, and I'm going to go step by step, kind of like what we did when I was out there for you in person. Okay. So first off, we have the entrance to the property, and like we've discussed many times before, the entrance to the property is like your lifeline. You only have one way in and one way out of your property, and because of that, we want to make sure that that we are keeping this area safe, or as safe as possible, as uncluttered as possible, so that way if you needed to get out of there quickly in a wildfire situation, it's a lot safer for you to leave. So the first thing that we are suggesting, just like we talked about before, is to, again, we have to raise the canopy on a lot of these trees. We are going to need to remove a couple of trees, one on the left and about 2 or 3 on the right, just as we had discussed. Again, this is to cluster the trees and to keep them a little bit more sparse and clear up the canopy. So that is the first recommendation. We do need to kind of unclutter this area and cluster the canopies a little bit more. So again, right here, we do need to raise the canopy. We do need to trim these tree branches, the ones that are closer to the ground. There's no need to remove these older trees. They look beautiful and they do not appear to be in danger of dying or anything like that anytime soon, so they don't need to be removed, but we do again need to raise the canopy. I know that FireWise says at least 6 feet. I like to err on the side of caution and go to at least about 8 feet, 8 to 10 feet, especially because it's on a hill. We definitely want to make the extra precaution. So Anne-Marie, just like we discussed before, we definitely want to think about removing the tree in the middle. And as far as the other trees on the side, we want to think about raising the canopy a little bit more. I think they were actually pretty, the tree branches on the bottom were at a pretty good height. But we do want to remove that tree in the middle that is kind of pronged into 2 separate leads, just because, you know, it is threatening the canopy of the 2 trees there. Again, you know, we want to have a little bit of distance between the different canopies, especially with the smaller trees that are more inclined to catch fire. So I know that we had discussed, you know, later on, possibly if you wanted to, you could plant some aspen trees there or something, so that way, you know, it still keeps a little bit of the seclusion that you enjoy right there. And again, this is the kind of that the back side of your driveway here. We definitely want to again raise the canopies here, make sure that they are a good distance off of the ground, and make sure that those big healthy trees are not threatened by any smaller foliage such as tall grass or any other smaller trees. So this is the cluster of 6 trees that is on the right hand side of your driveway. A couple of the trees are dead and or dying. This is going to be where likely we are going to start the project. We want to remove at least 2 of the trees here because those 2 are dead, and that's what I'll be sending you an estimate for either today or tomorrow. But this should really be our first priority. These trees are close to where your cars could be, so in case of any type of wildfire danger, they might directly threaten your means to get out of there. So in this picture you can see the some of the leaves that are discolored and changing on the right hand side there. That is from the trees, I should say, the 2 trees that we are going to be removing first. I really only feel that probably 3 trees should be removed out of this bunch of 6, so that way the other 3 can grow and will probably even grow better and stronger without the competition for resources here. Alright, so moving over to the left-hand side of your driveway here, we have trimmed we trimmed a couple of trees over here. Again, most of these trees are good. We did look at probably removing 2 really small trees over here just to kind of thin the canopies out a little bit. We don't want to threaten the canopies of the more developed trees with smaller trees that are not as developed. So if we do remove anything right along here, we are going to remove maybe 2 small trees. Other than that, it's just, again, raising the canopy. You know, your deck, even though your deck is made out of wood and you do have a tree growing up through the deck, you have a lot of rock that is around your deck, which kind of helps. You know, rock doesn't catch fire, obviously, so it's a very good deterrent against the spread of wildfires. So other than removing those couple of trees and raising the canopy, this area really is not too bad. Now again, we do want to keep looking out for pine needles blocking the gutters and stuff like that. This is a different angle of the front of your home. Now, when it comes to this picture, the thing I want to focus on the most is just the grass. We want to make sure that we're keeping that grass relatively short, but we also do want to think about removing a couple of the really small trees off to the left-hand side of the frame here. They're really small. We don't need to remove all of them, but I would like to remove 1 or 2 and just kind of thin the canopy from those trees that line your driveway to the trees that are directly in front of your house, just to help limit any potential spread of wildfire, just in case the trees on the driveway or near the driveway do get compromised. Like we were talking about, you know, we want to thin out this canopy here. This is really dense with a couple of these trees, so we only need to remove about 2 or 3 trees here as well. Again, this is what we're talking about with the dense canopy. We definitely want to thin that out. You know, the canopies are way too close together. In the next photo here, you'll see kind of what we're talking about. This is a little bit more what we want. We want it a little bit more thinned out, just to kind of help prevent that spread of wildfire in case it does get to your property. Right here is another representation of us wanting to thin the canopy and really make those trees a little more clustered on your property, so that way we can help prevent against the spread of the wildfire in case there is one. This is obviously in the very far left of the screen here. We have your driveway. So this is I'd say about 30 feet or so away from your driveway, just kind of how it starts to thin out and gets a little bit more sparse. This is the canopy moving around the left side of your property here. So we do want to thin some of this out next to the power lines as well. So again here, we do want to thin some of these trees out. You can see the power lines on the left and on the bottom of the frame here. We do really want to be careful and cognizant of those power lines. I know that IREA will do some work around there, but we do need to thin out some of the trees that are around those power lines. These trees are directly moving towards your pergola on the right-hand side. You can barely see it in this picture, but the next picture will show it. I definitely suggest that at least 1, maybe 2 of the trees next to the pergola get removed, just due to the fact that it is so close to the structure and obviously close to your deck and the rest of your house as well. Maybe, I don't think all 3 of them need to be removed, but at least 1, maybe even 2 of those should be removed, especially just proximity to your house and the deck. We definitely want to thin that out as well. So here in this picture here, it is showing a bunch of rock. The rock is definitely good. It helps prevent against the wildfire spread. However, though, we do want to look at that tall grass there. The tall grass is going to need to be cut down as well. Now, luckily, the trees on this side of the property are pretty far away from the house, which is definitely good. We don't have to remove any of these trees that are in this picture here. So In this frame here, this is the northern side of your property, kind of facing towards one of your neighbor's properties here. You know, I don't think a lot of these trees need to even be messed with. We do want to, again, raise the canopy. We may need to think about removing one or two of the trees on the right-hand side just to thin that cluster around that pole over there. But other than that, this area does not look too bad. Now over here, again, we have the pole with what we believe to be a cable line on the left. Thinning one of those trees out would be good, but most importantly, we need to look at the cluster on the right-hand side. And again, we should probably take one or two trees out of there just, again, to help thin, and then we definitely want to raise the canopy as well. Now here in this frame we can see the house on the right. These trees are pretty close to the house, but I don't think they need to be removed as long as they're properly trimmed. Now we do want to remove one of the trees over here in the middle just to help kind of break up the canopy being all bunched together right there. Again, right in this area here, again, we are lifting the canopy and trimming some of these branches that are within about 6 to 10 feet of the ground. But ultimately, this area right here is not too bad as long as we're maintaining a safe distance from those poles and from those lines as well. I know that a lot of those power lines, I think, go to your neighbor's property, though, not yours. This is a little bit further away from your property line, or from your tree, or I'm sorry, from your house. But we do want to thin this area out as well. This is probably more in what we would consider to be zone 2. But the cluster of trees kind of right there in the middle of the frame is not good. We definitely want to take one or two of those trees out as well. So the biggest concern on this side of the property, on your, I guess, the east side of your property, if you're looking at your house head on, is going to be the bushes. This is where we start seeing a lot of these little bushes, and we definitely want to thin these bushes out. A lot of these trees, though, as long as they're properly maintained, don't look too bad. We don't really need to remove too many of them on this side of the house. So you can kind of see the deck that is right in front there, and the side of the garage. We definitely want to keep the grass down in this area because the grass does come up completely to the house, as well as the wooden deck that is directly in front on this photo. This right here is the big tree that's next to your house. We don't have to do too much with that, just keeping it trimmed. Now over here, we do have some trees that are leading up to some of your rock outcropping here. None of these trees have to be removed, but we do need to trim the canopies a little bit. Now right here, this is next to your shed and your deck. We do want to trim back these bushes. These bushes are everywhere. We definitely want to cut these bushes down, and then the tree kind of off to the right next to the deck, that should be removed as well, just because of the proximity that it is to your shed, not your deck, sorry. We definitely want to remove the bushes that are right next to the structures. This is definitely something that we need to do right away, and I know that you said that we cannot remove the debris that's next to the shed, but as far as the bushes though, we definitely want to get these bushes trimmed back as much as possible. This is directly threatening the shed, and the shed is not too far away from the rest of your property, so we definitely want to remove this bush as well as all other bushes near it. This is a different view of the same bush and that tree off to the right hand side that I said earlier in the assessment that needed to be removed. It's not a very big tree. It is starting to lean towards the shed though, and as it gets bigger, it's obviously going to lean even more that way as it competes for sunlight with the trees on the other side. So both the bush and the tree should definitely be removed, as well as any other bushes around the structure. Yes, I am focusing a little bit on this shed. You can see more of the bushes around the backside. We definitely want to make sure that every structure on your property is safe. So this needs to be cleaned up as well. Moving on the right hand side of the shed, we see just a bunch of mostly bushes. The trees really aren't too bad in this area. We just need to raise the canopies on these and focus on keeping the grass down. As far as, you know, the grass in this area getting too tall, we definitely want to keep the grass down, you know, trimming it, whatever it needs to be done. That's the biggest concern on this part. As you can see, we've done a full circle of the property though, and over here the trees are a little bit more sparse anyway. They're a little bit older and the canopies are already a little bit higher. This was a clumping of trees that you showed to me near the roadway. We definitely do want to take the two that are out on the left just to help thin that little grouping of foliage out right there. All right, Anne-Marie, well that was your property assessment. Looks like it's going to be about 20 minutes long. I did go over the different zones of your property. However, most important is going to be zone 1, which is the direct 0 to 30 feet from your property, and also most of the trees we looked at were in zone 2 as well, which is 30 to 60 feet from your property. Really, your property is very well maintained. There are a lot of really good pockets of growth that are already there. You know, just a couple of little things that we need to do and that we need to maintain. So I will get you the first bid for the first job to be done, and then after that, you know, however you would like us to move forward, we definitely can. I also have that written sheet of paper that you saw me walking around with as well that has all of this listed on here as well. I only have roughly about 10 trees, maybe give or take, you know, 10 to 15 trees that need to be removed. Now, when I say that, I'm also talking about the small trees. You know, it's not like we're going to be removing 15 huge trees off of your property. But I know that we're going to do this in phases. I just hope that this gives a visual representation of what we want to do moving forward. But ultimately, like I told you, your property is in pretty good condition. And the biggest thing we want to focus on are the structures that are on the right-hand side of your house, and as well as your pergola as well. Those exterior structures can catch fire, and if they do, that can definitely threaten your property. So we really do want to make good barriers, good buffers around all of the structures on your property, not just your house. So we definitely want to focus on those, and that's why I focused on them in this property assessment. Again, if you have any questions whatsoever, please ask me. I'm going to keep this property assessment on YouTube, and I'm also going to hang on to the property assessment form that I have for you as well, so that way we have a written as well as a visual representation of the job moving forward. And then as we go over the next several months, years, whatever it takes, we can always come back to the property assessment and just make sure that we're following along with what we had originally laid out. Again, please let me know if you have any concerns, any questions, anything like that. And I hope that you enjoyed this property assessment. And I hope that we touched on everything. I know that we went a lot more in detail when I was there in person. Unfortunately, it is quite difficult to do that on these property assessments, at least in terms of looking at photographs. We went a lot more in depth when I was there in person, just because you were asking questions directly and I was able to answer them directly. So if anything comes up, though, please feel free to let me know, and I will address that with you. So as far as this property assessment goes, there is a fee of $50. I will be sending you a receipt, or I'm sorry, not a receipt, a bill for that that's for this property assessment. And just remember that when you do go through us for other work in the future, that $50 will be credited to your first job, whatever it is that we end up doing, okay? So once again, if you have any other questions, please feel free to let me know. You can either give me a call, you can send me an email, or you can always check out our website as well, www.cowildfiremitigation.com. And just so you're aware, we may be putting some of the work that we do on your property, we may be putting it up on the website just to kind of show other people the work that we're doing in Bailey. And also, if you have anybody else who, any friends in the area, neighbors that are interested, please feel free to give them our information. Please also feel free to show them the property assessment as well, and this one that's on YouTube, and see if they like what we're doing. So hopefully this has answered any questions that you might have, and hopefully we will see you again real soon. Thank you, Annemarie. Have a great day.